Hello there YouTube, it is I, Uncle John back in the flesh yet again, and today I will be talking to you all about the latest All That Remains brand new album called Madness, which hits stores April 28th, early release on digital outlets April 27th. And within this whole reviewing process here, not only will I be talking about the album itself and the songs that come with it, but I will also be giving a rate on each and every individual song per its own use. Plus, I will also be giving out a review on the album itself in its entirety. So let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? Now, the very first track that we do have here is called Safe House. Safe House is actually the very first song on here from All That Remains that actually decided to go ahead and put a heavy amplification sound within this album in its entirety. This actually does come with the cost of Phil screaming and growling through most of his way into this song, which most of the lyrics in it isn't actually all that bad, and some people will probably disagree with that, but in my opinion it isn't that bad at all. It actually does come with some kind of chorusy sample of kind of a arithmetic balance, if you will. To me, I would actually give this song a 9.5 out of 10 because it was really good. Now with Madness, this one is actually more of a radio-friendly-esque type of song here that actually does come from the title itself, Madness, of the album. Some people, they don't really take too kindly to this song because they believe that the lyrics to it aren't as experimental as what they believe All That Remains should have done to it. In my own opinion, I think the lyrics were a bit chopped off in a way, and when I mean chopped off, I mean kind of lazy in a way, but thanks to Phil himself, he actually expressed and explained what the whole idea behind the song was, and for that, I actually did like that song itself. So thanks, Phil. Thanks for implying that to us. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a good old rating for the song. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 8 out of 10, just because I like the way the song presents itself. The very next song on this album is called Nothing I Can Do. To me, it actually sounded more of a controlling song than anything I've probably have ever heard from All That Remains in its entirety. To me, it sounds like it takes over the basis of how a relationship would go, or maybe not even a relationship in itself, just maybe something to where the person believes that they are actually in control of the relationship and can basically control yet demand whatever it can take for that person to come back. And maybe if they leave long enough, they'll realize that they missed them and then come back, and the dominant person can control whatever. But to me, that's how I actually took the song out to be, but it may be not even that at all. There was a lot of electronical samples and sound riffs that were coming from the guitars itself at certain points. To me, I really dug the whole thing, so I'm going to go ahead and give the song a 9 out of 10, just because it was actually really good. You probably see this in the headlines, and let me this track right here was the one I was just getting ready to talk about from the previous track of Nothing I Can Do. This one is called If I'm Honest, and to me, this, in a way, actually, for me, I believe, could make it onto the rock radio airwaves as one of the biggest, if not the biggest, love ballad singles that All That Remains has produced out. There are a couple of other tracks on here that I think could make it like that as well, but we'll get to those here in just a bit. To me, if I'm honest, carried somewhat of a simplistic idea or value of how close and emotional this song could probably get. I'm not sure if this was just based on love in general, or it was just basically a whole big compilation of emotions that was just probably built up while writing this song. But to me, that's just what I think it could deliver. I could be wrong, but I do believe that, if I'm honest, should probably hit the airwaves within a few extra months. So to me, I enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite songs on here. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give it a rate. 10 out of 10 for me. I mean, it's that good. So that's great. This next song here is called Halo. Halo is a bit of an oddball of a song. Not to say that anything strange completely about it. It's just the whole song in its own entirety, to me, is and seems like it's based off of how society portrays the world. How we should all be viewed as one entire concept instead of being accepted as our own individualities. For me, I actually did like Halo. The intro to it was a bit interesting, and then it just immediately jumps straight into the lyrics and the very fast guitar riffs and whatnot. The chorus part within the guitar solos and whatnot seemed like it was just strung once. I could be wrong, but not complaining about the song whatsoever. For me, I think it was a great way to experiment with that song from its own entirety. So I'm going to go ahead and give this song a good old rate number and go with a 9.3. So this should be pretty exciting to continue onward, huh? Now the next song to this one is called Louder. There's really not a lot to cover within the entirety of this whole song here. It does have quite the rhythmic intro, and then it balances in its way towards the lyrical part of the song, which is quite a short verse, and then it gets to a bridge, and then it gets straight back into the vocals, into the bridge again, and then it goes straight into the chorus part, which I think is kind of interesting, let alone within its own self. I do think that, to me, Louder, although it is one of their short songs, but it is well over 3 minutes long, to me it was really good. I actually heard this song being played on, I do believe it was All That Remains' Instagram post, back when they were actually creating the album, and I was actually hoping to hear that song before the album came out, and luckily it actually did, as one of the non-official singles coming out through iTunes. So to go ahead and give this one a good rate, I'm going to stick with 9.4. To me, it was really good. It stuck out a lot within a lyrical perspective, and I think the band did a really good job on this song entirely. So yeah, I really did enjoy it.
All the
The next track to this album is called River City. This one is basically an emotional yet personal type of track for Phil Labonte. This is basically based between him and his wife when she was out on tour duty when it came to being in Iraq or wherever the place may be. Basically, this whole song, in part, is a mixture between a love ballad and a progressive love ballad song, if you will. The beginning basically has the hearing of a phone call being going on, or just the ringing of a general phone going off, and later on you hear a beat of a drum. It's not like some kind of organic drum beat, but this one perhaps has a little bit of a rhythmic electronic drum beat, if you will. The cymbals to it also sound a little electronic, but then it gains and builds up as the momentum progresses into the song. The chorus part to it is quite beautiful. It's very phenomenal. But needless to say, it's a really good song nonetheless. I would definitely rate it a 9.7 out of 10 just because of how unique this song River City truly is. The next track to this album is called Open Grave. Within this album itself, it actually does split between the differences of screaming and growling within the verses and actually having a good singing chorus part whenever they do bring up Open Grave. To me, I actually did quite enjoy the harmony behind Open Grave. It was a bit catchy, very rhythmic, and needless to say, I actually enjoyed it very well. This song actually, it doesn't really have me complaining at all. This whole album in its entirety really hasn't had me complaining one bit. So, you know, maybe to some people they will like it, some people they probably won't. But nonetheless, it does actually bring up the whole meaning of All That Remains and what this album Madness actually stands for. So, I completely recommend it. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and give it a good old rating, and the rating I'm going to give it is a 9.3 out of 10. So, you know, I actually dig it. I really do. So, yeah. Some days I like the ocean. This next track from this album is called Far From Home. And don't worry, it's not a cover from Five Finger Death Punch, although they are a good band. But needless to say, this song in particular actually does strike kind of a resemblance of a love ballad-esque song. It does have the requirement upbeats whenever it gets into the chorus part, and then it slims down back again into the softer tone side of All That Remains in general. But, you know, I gotta admit, I actually do like the song, and I would actually like to sing along to it whenever I can. So, it's a good song nonetheless. To go ahead and rate this song, I'm going to go ahead and give it, on an honest scale, 8.9. Yeah. Next song to this album is called Trust and Believe. And believe me when I say this, no pun intended, it is actually quite a good song to say here. I really can't lie about it. It's a good song, and it's quite heavy. Just the intro itself reminds you of the metalcore shading part from All That Remains. And with this one here, it it tends to grow on you. It's the second short song to this album, but it does deliver quite an impactful punch. I don't know why I said an impactful. Okay, never mind. But we're going to go ahead and continue on with this anyway, because I really don't want to have to redo this one, just like everything else that I do. Anyway, it has quite a vigorous stage when it comes to Phil and him using a screaming, singing voice sensation that everyone just loves and enjoys. The chorus part to it is quite amazing. I really can't describe it. It's really good, and I suggest that you go and listen to it right away. If you haven't, head over to iTunes or wherever you can hear it from, or just borrow a CD from a buddy and have a good old listen to it before you try to think about purchasing this song or the album in its own entirety. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a good old rating. I'm going to give it a 9.8 out of 10. It was that good. This next track is called Back to You. This one actually brings out an acoustic side to All That Remains. This one actually just deals with the symphony behind the acoustic brain of the guitar itself. It does actually escalate pretty quickly when it goes into the chorus part, and it's done very beautifully, especially by Phil himself. The whole part is basically a love ballad, but it's not the strong type of love ballad that you get out of All That Remains. It's basically a softer toner side of a love song. Some people may not agree with me when I say that it's a great song and Phil did a tremendous job just by singing the whole song, but I actually enjoyed it. So I'm just going to go ahead and give this one a good old rating. I'm going to rate it a 9.1 out of 10. It was that good, and I really liked it. And I do believe that it's probably going to be maybe their last single when it comes to this album. Maybe third or fourth last single. I don't know. When it goes into the rock radio airwaves or whatever. So I liked it. The next song to this album is called Never Sorry. This one basically has a standard of being an unapologetic song with kind of a mixture of the guitar riffs sounding a bit like a retro gaming theme. The lyrics, they do rhyme. Not completely though, but they do blend in with the instruments pretty well. I don't know if I can say they do rhyme, but they do have a bit of a blend when it does come to the instruments, let alone. So, there's really not much to really explain about this song. So the only way that you could actually get to know this song much more is by, like I've said before within another song on this video here, is basically listen to a preview of it on the internet, or take a friend's CD and listen to it yourself, see how you like it. So I'm gonna go ahead and rate this song on here. I'm gonna give it an 8.7 out of 10. It's still a pretty good album nonetheless, so yeah. And the final track to this album is called Thunder Rolls. There's really not a lot to explain here. It's just basically All That Remains' version of a country song that Garth Brooks wrote. So, it's a really good song. A lot of people truly hate not only on this album in particular, Well, not all people, but some people do. And I'm not sure how people really feel about this song right here being not only a cover song, but the last song on this album in particular. For me, I actually enjoyed it. This whole album I've enjoyed. So, I'm just going to go ahead and shoot straight to you. Um, this song here, I'm going to rate a 10 out of 10. It was really, really good. Um, so I'm just gonna go ahead and talk to you all about the album and the whole perspective of its entirety. To me, it seems like there was a lot of filters being used when it came to Phil's voice being recorded on some songs. Not all the songs, but on some songs in general. I think the filter could have probably been used on maybe a couple, but not too much. But other than that, I'm just gonna go ahead and rate the whole album 10 out of 10. It was a really good album, and I really can't wait to see what they do on their 9th record if it ever does come out. So thank you all so much for participating and watching this album review of mine right here. If you like it, go ahead, give it a good old thumbs up. Comment down below, let me know what you think on how I did with this album review. Do you think it was too much? Do you think it was to the point? Or do you think it was just alright? So until then, I will see you all next time. Take care, YouTube.